Coming up, the pickup, the drop-off, we go to the strippers, and we finally get organized. I'm sure that at any one time or another we've all felt a little bit like Sanford and Son going down the road, and this project was really no different. The nice thing about this project is my best friend Fred Norman, who gave me this car, his whole family chipped in and helped me with all this stuff, so it really wasn't much of a chore at all. And we came up with some pretty good goodies. For instance, the B block we're looking at right now, got 2 of those. Thought maybe we could take and put a Miller head on one, or a 4-port Riley or something, and we'll build a little racer or something like that. It'll be a lot of fun. So once you get everything on there and everything strapped down, yeah, you kind of look like the Beverly Hillbillies or the Sanford and Son, and you go down the highway and hopefully you don't have a yard sale on the way home. When I got the thing home, I had a little bit of a dilemma. Normally, I'd just take the reach forklift or one of the other forklifts, and I would just pick it up and take it off the trailer. I'd be done in a matter of a minute or two. But this one was a little bit different because the whole bottom of the body was gone, of the wood, I should say, and so I had to kind of tie it together at the doors and use this sling arrangement on the jib crane, pick it up, and swing it off the trailer. So with a little help and a little ingenuity, it ended up being no problem at all. Then begins the odyssey of getting the rest of the wood out of the car. And when they built these bodies, they built a piece of wood and a jig, so every piece of wood is exactly the same. Then they had a jig where they assembled all the wood frame together in a unit, and then they wrapped the metal around the wood. Well, we sort of have to do it the opposite way. There's screws that come in from the back side of the wood, and we can't get to those unless we get the metal off of it. So it's just an endless chore of pulling every nail and every staple, getting it all apart, and then when we build it back together again, we don't have a jig to put the wood in, so we have to take the straight shell once we've worked all the metal, and then we fit the wood to the inside of that shell. So it's a little bit backwards. And I did have to cut the cowl off this thing because I need to get to the header, and that meant stripping everything off the front and the bottom side of the header to get to it because it was rotten and I had to replace it. Plus I wanted to get everything sandblasted and cleaned underneath the wood. Boy, we really went all out on this one. We set up a nice little table here, and I've got a demonstration, but we do have a very serious subject in mind here, and that is paint and rust removal. In my case, in the Model A, I had very little paint and a whole bunch of rust. Well, when we've got a car that's got maybe a 50s, 60s, 70s paint job on it, maybe not a lot of rust, the first thing they hit it with is plastic. And the plastic will take any of the soft materials off. It will take paint and body filler and that kind of thing, but it won't take off any rust or corrosion or anything like that. So when we have a steel part, the next thing they do to go and touch up all that stuff is this stuff here. This is Starblast. It's a byproduct of the manufacturing of titanium, and they literally have mountains of this stuff, and they figured out that, hey, we can sell this to the sandblasting guys and it works really neat. The old days when we used to use copper slag and that kind of stuff, the metal was so rough you couldn't even rub your hand over it. But with Starblast, and I would say glass beads would be about the same analogy, that it's nice and smooth. You can work it. It doesn't work hard in the metal. It's really a great product. Now when we've got an aluminum piece, we'll go ahead and remove again the paint and any filler material in the aluminum with the plastic beads, and then we use this soda for the corrosion removal, and that works really well. You know, in our bigger cars, we're doing V16 Cadillacs, V12 Cadillacs, Super 8 Packards, and all these that have an aluminum crankcase and aluminum pan, we hit it with this stuff here, and it just comes out looking like brand new. So it's really a great product. Different process again. Takes some special equipment to shoot this, but you almost have to use this when you're doing aluminum for any kind of corrosion removal. And what they do is a simple process, really. The products, as long as you have the good products here, the really important thing is the applicator. They place the body or the part in a booth to do the plastic, and they get that all done. Then they move it over to a booth to do the star blast in it, or in another booth again to do the soda. And so they keep all of these products from intermixing with each other. And then it's all in the applicator. When we've got a hood or a hood side panel or any panel that's flat, door panels, these big, you know, barrel-sided cars, they just got large flat panels, are so easy to warp. And it's not so much on the outside of the panel, it's when they're blasting the inside of it is when it warps. So your applicator is everything. And that's what we did on the 31 Model A Vic. We didn't have a whole lot of paint to remove, so they just went straight to the star blast, got rid of all that rust, and then you can see that it came out really, really nice. Very, very clean. I could go on it and just lead right on top of that star blasted metal. It's actually wonderful. Well, you know, it's a really great day when you come home from Bert's Model A with 5 boxes of original goodies. I also dropped off the body and the frame and a bunch of parts at Blastech today, and they knocked it out for me in 6 hours. So what a great day. Come home with all these goodies, and I can get going on this thing. Now, it may look like a piece of shit, and frankly it is, but we're going to turn this thing into a diamond, and the goal is we're going to score as high as we can. And the thing that really separates out the good cars from the great cars is all the original goodies. Sure, we're talking about wiring harness, radiator hoses, fan belts, spark plugs, all these kind of things, but also down to every piece of original hardware that you can put on the car. That includes all the nuts and bolts, all the lock washers that you can come up with. Lock washers originally had a little serrated edge on them, so we try to get those. The nuts on these things, like the back of the bumper bolts, they were really square and nice. We try to get all that stuff gathered up. And we were up at Bert's today, and we gathered up 5 boxes of original hardware. And we'll do that several more times. I figure about another 10 trips back and forth there, we might have gathered up enough stuff. Well, I thought it might be beneficial for you guys to see how I kind of set up my work area. So I've got a real wide angle lens on the camera just to kind of show you what I like to do. And what I like to do is comfort, because I'm lazy and my feet hurt, so I don't like walking a whole bunch. So I like to set my project up on a scissor lift. That is number one. I like to get the car up and down. I don't like to get down the ground. I don't like crawling up and over it. If I've got to work low on the car, well, you get the idea. That's number one. Number two is I kind of like to set up my projects so that they're close to my power hammers, my English wheel, and all of that. Because these, although I can move these things with my forklift, it's a pain in the butt. So I just try to be in a relative close proximity to all those, because I use those on every single car. The other thing that I like to have is all of my welders are on wheels. I can roll them wherever it is I want to go. We do have a welding area, so a lot of times when we're doing fabrication over there, we have to have the welders in that location. There's a couple things that I can't have on wheels, and one of them is a heavy bench with a thick steel top and a vise. That is kind of set in stone, and I have to be able to place that solidly. Of course, I can move it with the forklift, but I can't move it around a whole lot. And the other one is the Polmax machine. I don't have it on wheels. It kind of bounces around a little bit, but I don't want to tie it down, because if I do want to move it, run over the forklift, pick it up, move it wherever it is I want to go. So those things are kind of set without being on wheels. But what I really like is everything mobile. That way, what I can do is just roll them out of the way, sweep underneath them, clean up, and I'm done really quickly. And then the second thing I like about everything on wheels is that I can move my projects on this side of the power hammers or on that side of the power hammers, or I can be another 1 or 2 rows on down, and it's okay because I just move everything right with it. It really doesn't matter where I do the project. I just like close proximity, and when you're getting paid by the hour, so do your customers. The other thing that's been very beneficial for me is auctions. I bought most of these mobile tables on auctions. I bought all these little carts at school auctions. You know, the computer age has been very much our friend. Gone is the days of the film strips and some of the things that us older people probably remember, and now they're into computers and computer stations and all that. So all those old AV carts are really nice for me. I like to use them as my mobile thing. I pay a few bucks at an auction, a lot cheaper than buying new stuff, and they work just as well. So that's how I organize my work area. I can work quickly, efficiently. I always have 2 toolboxes. One of them pretty much full of body tools. The other one pretty much just full of regular mechanics tools. And that way they're close and I can get in and out really quickly. So that's what we did with the Model A. But if you look at this, I'm on one side of the power hammers on this job, and the Model A actually did it over on the other side. Stay tuned for next time, because I'm going to get jiggy on this metalwork. We're going to get this thing all straightened out. We've got some challenges in it, and then when they rolled it over, they pushed the cowl and the doors and everything about 1.25 inches to the passenger side. So we're going to get that all straightened out, get it all welded up, get the firewall fixed. We're going to fill that big hole in the back with a new patch panel, start to get this thing all shaped up, get the wood started, fit it on the frame, and then hopefully get this tub section married to the wood.